What is up, YouTube? What is up, Raider Nation? This is WiFiWillie, and today we're going to talk about the head coaching search, the GM search, and the latest updates and football talk for the Raiders. My title of this video is Mark Davis is running out of time. The clock is ticking because I am very concerned that we have not established a GM and head coach yet, and we'll get your thoughts about that and mine as well in just a little bit. So we're going to talk about an update on Nate Hobbs with his DUI case. We're also going to talk about the GM and head coach interviews that are scheduled and had already happened. And we're also going to talk about this article that came up just this past recently, something Michael Silva reported, anonymous players saying some crap about Gruden. I'm going to get my take on that. And then we're going to get my take on the cap space. We actually have a number of how many players we have under contract in the cap space situation for next year in 2022. Josh DeBow on Twitter. The guy's very negative. I don't always like the guy. I'm going to give him a boo for being a car hater. But, you know, sometimes he spits some facts and gives out some good information. So he's saying Raiders cornerback Nate Hobbs pleads guilty to reduced misdemeanor traffic charge stemming from arrest on suspicion of DUI. The DA says blood alcohol limit was below the legal limit. Hobbs will pay a $685 fine, complete victim impact panel, and complete 20 hours of community service. So it will be pretty funny in Vegas to see a star cornerback, future Pro Bowler, doing community service. So if you happen to be next to Nate Hobbs while you guys are serving lunches, or like I've done community service in the past, we had to do a lot of weed eating. So maybe somebody will get his autograph while they're cleaning up some community lawns. But I'm very glad that he ended up being below the limit. Shows he was telling the truth when it happened. Now this is regarding him falling asleep in his car in a parking lot in Vegas after we beat the Colts. So what had happened is he had said that he didn't want to drive, so he was inside a parking garage and just kept his car parked, even though it was in a lane, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, he's drunk, he's faded. Turns out he's below the legal limit, so he really was legit tired and didn't want to drive. And that's good that he's telling the truth, and I'm glad that he's not going to get a harsh penalty here, just a $685 fine and some community service. So good thing we'll see him next year, and we won't have to think about any league punishment or team punishment when it comes to Nate Hobbs. Great player in general. I'm glad he's doing all right. So Raiders interviewed Steelers pro scouting coordinator Brandon Hunt for their GM job on Tuesday. This is Tom Pelissero reporting this. Hunt is also expected to be one of the internal candidates to succeed Kevin Colbert as the Steelers general manager. And this is interesting because this just happened today. We just found out about it. Some other interviews are scheduled later in the week. I think we have not even completed the Ed Dodds interview yet. And it's interesting because you see different regimes that the Raiders seem to be interviewing. First, you had Patriots with Ziegler. Then you have Buccaneers. That's another thing I'm going to mention later. Now Steelers. So I wonder, Mark Davis, he's taking a lot of time. And we're going to get into this in a little bit, something I have from Hondo Carpenter. But, hey, he's being thorough. There's a positive on one side, but free agency is like 40 days away, bro. I mean, that's my view on it. But we'll see what happens here. Another up-and-comer trying to get their start as their first GM job. They also interviewed an internal candidate, Dwayne Joseph. So that is somebody who I thought they were going to look at Dujuan Daniels, but technically it looks like they're interviewing Dwayne Joseph, an internal candidate hired by Mike Mayock for the job. This is Pro Football Talk reporting this. And then this is this Bucs thing that I referenced. We know about the Todd Bowles thing. We'll mention that in a little bit. Buccaneers defensive coordinator interviewing for the Raiders head coaching job. But then we have Tom Pelissero saying, and this is just last night, that the Raiders requested to interview the VP of player personnel, John Spytek. So he got to start with the Lions as an intern, really had his highs as a scout with Denver when they won the Super Bowl against Carolina, then moved on and got hired by the Buccaneers. So one regime there, it seems like we're going towards, which is Buccaneers regime. Do you get a Bowles and Spytek combo, or do you get a Josh McDaniels or Gerard Mayo with Ziegler combo from Patriots? That's one interesting thing. We interviewed Dave Ziegler, director of player personnel of the Patriots. We did that recently. And we also interviewed Gerard Mayo, potential head coach candidate. However, I think he's a Rooney Rule candidate, to be honest. And I know I sound insensitive and not woke by saying that, but I think he's a Rooney Rule candidate, okay? I really do. And so I just want you guys to tell me, who do you think should be the Raiders GM? internal candidate, you can go that route with Dwayne Joseph. You can go the Patriots route. Somebody who was respected by Bill Belichick, was retained by Bill Belichick when Dave Ziegler almost went to become the Broncos GM. You can go that route. Those are two routes there. Or Spytek is somebody. Ed Dodds is somebody who a lot of people are curious about. He is assistant GM of the Colts and has a connection where he worked with the Raiders at the same time that Harbaugh was working with the Raiders with Bill Callahan. So let me know in the comments, who do you think should be the GM? And also let me know who you think should be the head coach. I should have included that question as well, but I want you guys to tell me. I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of Ed Dodds and Jim Harbaugh, if I'm not mistaken. So like I said earlier, Adam Schefter reported Raiders requested to interview Bucs defensive coordinator Todd Bowles. And here's my problem with the Rooney Rule, and this is going to be my main criticism with the Rooney Rule, okay? Now, we know that Byron Leftwich is likely going to be hired by the Jaguars as their head coach. Byron Leftwich is the current offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, why do the Buccaneers and why do the Chiefs always try to stump to get their coordinators hired? Now, a lot of people, Andy Reid's been trying to get Eric Bieniemy hired. However, he doesn't ever try to push to get his defensive coordinator hired. You would think great teams want to keep their coordinators rather than have other teams take them away. So why would they want to have other people hire their coordinators? And why does Andy Reid and the Chiefs not promote their white defensive coordinator, but instead say, hey, let's hire our minority, let's promote and tell other teams to hire our more minority black offensive coordinator? It's not just because they're diversity people with a big heart. I'm going to tell you that straight up right now. Because here's the problem with the Rooney Rule. The problem is, if another team hires a coordinator, a minority coordinator from your team, so Jaguars hire Byron Leftwich of the Bucs, guess what happens? The Bucs get 2 extra third-round picks. That's the incentive they have to have other teams hire their minority coach. Is really good teams who typically get their coordinators hired from bad teams. That's typically the way it goes. You don't ever have another team hire a coordinator from a bad team. Nobody's after the Jaguars offensive coordinator, the Jaguars defensive coordinator. No, they are going to get the benefits of this. They're going to say, hey, please hire my minority coaches. Please hire away my minority coaches. That way they get 2 third-round picks, which are extremely valuable, by the way. Hunter Renfrow, a 5th-round pick. Max Crosby, a 4th-round pick. Divine Diablo, a 3rd-round pick. So you can get something for a 3rd-round pick, I'll tell you, right? And that's what it's all about. Don't let anybody fool you and tell you, oh, they just care about diversity. Oh, they're just super nice. No, they want a couple 3rd-round picks. That's all it's about. Todd Bowles, please do not hire Todd Bowles. Mark Davis, please do not hire Todd Bowles. And I'm not saying this as like, oh, like he's necessarily the worst candidate. He's been a head coach before. I'll give him that. That's better than Gerard Mayo, who's literally never done any head coaching. He's only been a de facto defensive coordinator for the Patriots. But look, first of all, I don't want to give the Bucs 2 third-round picks by hiring Todd Bowles. I don't want to do that. I don't know about you. I don't want to do that. And that's what you'd have to do according to the Rooney Rule. And also, you know, he's always just kind of been lately just a right-hand man of Bruce Arians. When he was the Jets head coach, he failed miserably. He had that 1 year in 2015 where he did garner 10 wins, but he really declined after that. Not a good drafter, in my opinion. Todd Bowles' record, 26-41. I think the Raiders deserve a higher caliber head coach than that. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. And here's the thing. I'm saying that we're running out of time. Time is escaping us. We need a coach now. The offseason has already started for many teams, in my opinion. In March, you're going to have trade windows open up. You're going to have free agency open up. You're going to have a lot of things that you got to get taken care of in March with the roster. We have to re-sign contracts too. A lot of business to take care of. And obviously the Senior Bowl is in a few weeks. We got to start scouting college players, and we don't even know who our team is. We don't even know who our GM is and head coach is. We are behind. We are behind other teams. And I know it's a little delayed now. It feels a little delayed, and I think I'm getting a little antsy because the season extended a week longer. Therefore, the offseason is going to be a week delayed since we have a longer season. But let me know in the comments, how soon would you like Mark Davis to hire a head coach? I think he needs to hire one this week. I think he needs to hire one this week because we need to get things situated. Decisions need to be made, and we need to get to work because I don't want us to settle for just a playoff berth and get knocked right out again. I don't think the Raiders and Raider Nation should settle for that. I think we should have some high expectations this year, no matter who the hell the head coach is. Let me just say this about this head coach thing, too. And I wasn't originally going to talk about this, but I think, and this is something with Hondo Carpenter was reporting in Sports Illustrated. I didn't make a slide about this, but he had some interesting comments, and it was just Hondo Carpenter is a beat reporter who, in my opinion, is very close to the Raiders organization and almost sort of speaks as a liaison, I think, for Mark Davis. He asked very, I guess I would say, nice questions at all the press conferences. So you could tell that he's sort of works for the team, in my opinion. Now, Hondo Carpenter said he talked to a lot of people. A lot of people think that McDaniels and Jim Harbaugh would be some of the top candidates they could see the Raiders choosing. These are different executives and whatnot, people close to Mark Davis. And one thing in particular is he said Mark Davis is taking his time and wants to be the most thorough in this moment. He really doesn't want to mess this up. And so that's why this is taking longer than usual. I understand that, but you don't have all day. You don't have all week, in my opinion. You don't have all month. You can't take your time in the NFL. The NFL is a 24-hour business that doesn't stop. Every single day, people are hustling and grinding, ironing out contracts, predicting the future, training. It doesn't stop. So I understand Mark Davis doesn't want to screw this up. He wants to take his time, and he has taken a lot of time. I mean, think about it. Whenever you hear about the Raiders interviewing somebody, that's why I just show you guys tweets, because it seems like they're always interviewing somebody. They're going to interview almost everybody in the league. But even though I want this to hurry up, expect this to maybe take some time, according to Hondo Carpenter. All right, so this was something that came out. Michael Silver, this freaking character. Doesn't this guy look like a winner? Michael Silver looks like a freaking nerd. Anyways, though, he reported that an anonymous veteran player on the Raiders talked some smack about Gruden. So I wanted to respond to this. This came out a little earlier this past week. And here, let me just tell you what it is. Michael Silver reported that this player said, "We didn't have Gruden grinding us late in the year." Now, first of all, I don't think an anonymous player would use Gruden. Anonymous player who wants to diss Gruden, I don't think they would use his catchphrase in the sentence, "Gruden grinder." I really don't think they would do that. So this, to me, this sounds a little fake and fabricated, or in my opinion, it feels like a player who wasn't really that heavily involved in the team. So the player says, "We didn't have Gruden grinding us late in the year. Gruden would kill us and we would fall apart. The reason this team played so well down the stretch is that Rich listened to the players and took it easy over the back half of the season." Now, first of all, even if this is true and even if this is from a good player, here's what I would say. I'm going to assume this is from a great player who contributes to the team. I'm going to assume that this anonymous player, one, exists and is a great player. First thing I'll say is you didn't play great down the stretch. What are you talking about? Well, our team was much better the first half of the season, the beginning of the season. Before the emails came out, we led the NFL in passing yards. Derek Carr was the second highest graded QB in the NFL, and our defense had the most pressures. We had the best pass rush in the NFL. Second half of the season, actually the last 4 games, aside from the Bengals playoff game, Carr didn't throw for over 300 yards for about 4 games in a row. So I don't know what the hell this guy is talking about, how we played better down the stretch. No, you actually played worse down the stretch. Yeah, you were clutch in certain moments, but as far as your production and numbers, you were leading the NFL when you had Gruden in several categories. Before the Bears game, right before the emails came out, you were leading the NFL in multiple categories. So I really don't know what this guy is talking about Rich listened to everybody and he's your little therapist, and so we did a little better. You played worse. You couldn't crack over 300 yards passing. Josh Jacobs, I guess, played better. I mean, he had to break a lot of tackles. He had that one really good game against the Colts, and then he also had a couple good runs against the Chargers. Really absent in the Bengals game, especially in the fourth quarter. And I don't know if that was a coaching decision, but and yeah, if it's a coaching decision, maybe Gruden would have changed that. Who knows? So really, I just find this whole comment kind of erroneous, and I think part of the problem with the Raiders, and a lot of people think this, is they weren't being grinded. I mean, it felt like there was not enough leadership in some of these poor performances, right? Somebody to hold people accountable. Who's going to hold Carr accountable? Who's in that room? You need leadership that could hold the top player accountable, and that was John Gruden. And I felt like the order in the room dissipated. I felt like the team turned into more of a co-op, and maybe that's why they went one and done in the wild card. Who knows? But who knows? Maybe Rich Bisaccia could become the head coach in the future. I'm not sure. I want to say this real quick. The longer that Mark Davis takes to make a decision, I think it leans in Rich Bisaccia's favor. That's something that Hondo Carpenter also said too. Think about it. No one's interviewed Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley can be a defensive coordinator for many teams in the NFL, despite the fact that a lot of Raider Nation doesn't like him. So who knows? Maybe the Bisaccia regime will come through, and the niceness of Rich Bisaccia will help us go to a Super Bowl. Who knows? Raiders cap space in 2022. This is from Sports Illustrated. The Raiders will have just under $40 million in cap space available. Wow. That's actually a pretty decent amount considering that we have 35 players under contract right now. That's what the Sports Illustrated was also saying. So when you're looking at the 22 season, we really only have to sign about 18 more players. So people talk about, can Devontae Adams happen? He would command 20, 25 million a year. That leaves you with 15 more million. Maybe you release some extra people to clear up some more space. People like Corey Littleton in a post-June cut. People like Cleveland Farrell in a post-June cut would clear up some space down the stretch. Those two players are counted as part of the 35 under contract, Carl Nassib included. After June, post-June, you cut Nassib, you free up some space too. I'm not saying these guys are going to get cut. I'm saying these are guys who aren't starting, who command a lot of cap space and could clear some cap space up if you went ahead and cut them. But I think this is good for the Raiders. This shows that whoever comes in, whatever GM comes in, whatever head coach comes in, will have a lot to work with. And I hope they get to work soon because we need to get started on this offseason immediately. We can't have Denver get ahead of us. We can't have even the Chargers be ahead of us. They already have their coach. They're fine. We got to step up. We got to come up. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name is WiFiWillie. Hope you have a good one. Like this video if you watched it all the way through, and subscribe to this channel to get more videos. I'm pumping videos out almost every single day, and I hope you come with me and watch the Raiders season. Peace out and have a good one.